recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios, Meanjin, Brisbane.
On 102.1 FM.
And broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Z Games.
Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out?
Share your hot take?
Or do you just want to share your favourite game?
Find us on socials at ZEDGamesAU.
Hey, it's me, Maylee.
Stop. It's me, Maylee.
Oh, gosh. Your microphone was all the way up there. It needs to come down.
I forgot that I need a microphone to be on the radio.
Can I be Maylee too?
Well, you got to say
Okay.
hey.
Oh, hey,
Start us off the way we like.
Hey.
Yes! Yes! That's what I come here for every time!
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I like it. I'm not as enthusiastic as him, though.
Yeah.
I like it, though. It's good. It's
Your
unique.
brand.
We've got a lot of energy in here tonight.
That we do.
What are we here tonight? I don't know if we've said.
No, we
We've said
haven't.
I'm Maylee, you're Maylee.
This is Z Games.
Here on
I'm your host,
4ZZZ.
Maylee, and joining tonight are my good friends, Maylee
And Maylee.
and Maylee.
Maylee.
Paul, that's me, and Peter.
Yes, that's me.
My father's name is also Peter,
Oh.
and my mother's name is Patricia, and my sister's name is Pamela. We're 4 peas in a pod. It wasn't on purpose, but it's pathetic.
No,
anyway,
I love
sorry,
it.
it's your show now. I'm just going to leave.
Okay, goodbye, Maylee.
Bye! Bye, Maylee!
Bye, Paul Maylee.
Okay, what's going on?
Yes. What do we have tonight for the people?
We have news, reviews, and music, and inappropriate noises that should not be playing over the radio.
I was like, I don't know what that was.
It's my funky ringtone.
Oh, funky.
So,
Yes. What should we get started with?
I think we should get started with some news. It's a good place to start, and there's a lot of it tonight.
There is. There is
I
indeed.
promised to keep it to 3, so it's 6.
Let's go.
This week in Sleepless Nights. It's annual showcase season again. That time of the year where publishers pull out their wares and cram them into various online showcases to get us all hyped. Traditionally, this was all based around the Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3, but that is now a thing of the past and now centres around Summer Game Fest. Fragmented would still be an accurate way of calling it though, as while we normally think of a few key shows, this last week has contained over 20 events. And I've watched them all. Here are some of the larger announcements. Summer Game Fest was the first major showcase, hosted by Jeff Keighley, who is commonly known as the Dorito Pope. In the lead up to the event, Jeff messaged to fans that they should lower their expectations for this year's event, despite charging participants an alleged $250,000 USD per minute. The show kicked off with LEGO Horizon Adventures, a LEGO game based in Sony's Horizon universe. Surprisingly, the game is coming to the Switch, along with the PS5 and PC. A new game for you snitch-loving potheads out there, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, is coming from Warner Brothers. Blumhouse, the studio behind films such as Get Out, Insidious, The Purge, and so many others, have thrown their hat into producing video games. Their first lineup of 6 games is a diverse list of horror-adjacent titles. The final game announced, known as Project C, is developed by Half Mermaid Productions, who are working with Sam Barlow of Her Story fame and filmmaker Brandon Cronenberg. Inner Sloth, developers of Among Us, are using their success to create a game fund called Outer Sloth. The announced titles include Australia's own Mars First Logistics and a new game from the Thirsty Suitors team, Altitude Games, which is a cooking game where you pilot a mech, called Project Dosa. Do you enjoy Civilization like millions have? Well, here's some good news. The new one is coming out and it's called Civilization 7. Not much is known yet, but there will be a gameplay showcase in August. Lastly, Alan Wake 2 will be getting a physical release at last, and the first of the major DLC was announced based on the fictional show inside the game, Night Springs. Devolver Digital rarely disappoint with their showcases, focusing on entertainment over showing off their upcoming wares. This year focused on the 15th birthday of everyone's favourite, totally real video game character, Volvi. Among the celebrations, 2 notable games from well-regarded developers were revealed. From Sebastian Bernard, the lead designer of Dead Cells, came Tenjutsu, a top-down roguelike martial arts city planner. And Heart Machine, of Hyperlight Drifter fame, announced Possessors, a stylish side-scrolling action game. In Aussie Devolver-related news, there is an upcoming update for Cult of the Lamb. On August 12th, the free Unholy Alliance update will be released, which will add local co-op to the 2022 hit. Ubisoft announced a new Anno game, Anno 117. They had updates for most of their current franchises and did deep dives into the new Japanese-based Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. Prince of Persia has become a focus for the publisher, with the Rogue Prince of Persia, story DLC announced for The Lost Crown, and confirmation that the long-awaited and troubled remake of The Sands of Time is still coming, with a planned release of 2026. And to wrap up our brief coverage, we have Microsoft, and they came in with all guns blazing. We got a deep dive into Black Ops 6 and assurances that there will no longer be any platform-exclusive content when it launches on Xbox, PC and PlayStation on October 25. The game will, however, require an internet connection for single-player due to streaming textures, which they claim will keep the install size down. Doom the Dark Ages was announced, taking our armoured demon slayer into a medieval-inspired setting, with some truly creative weapon designs shown off. Mixtape was announced by Australia's own Beethoven and Dinosaur, with 90s kids listening to music and feeling ways about stuff. It really takes me back. Speaking of feeling things, Life is Strange is back, and so is the first game's protagonist, Max Caulfield, in Life is Strange Double Exposure. Dragon Age The Veilguard was officially shown off for the first time, with some gameplay along with the new Perfect Dark, Fable, and Avowed. The show finished off with the announcement of Gears of War E-Day, taking the series back to the beginning, with the original emergence of the Locust and playing into the series' more horror route. There's far too much to cover in this bulletin. You can go to gamesrecap.io, see links to all trailers and conferences, including the always entertaining Wholesome Direct. Upcoming game releases. June 14th should see the release of Taskmaster VR for Quest and PC, Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2 coming to PlayStation, Switch and PC, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance coming to PlayStation platforms, Xbox platforms, PC and Switch. June 19th should see #Blood for PS4, Xbox One, Switch and PC, and Still Wakes the Deep for PS5, Xbox Series X and S and PC. And on June 20th, we should see Dice Folk for Switch and Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 on PSVR 2. I hope you enjoyed this week's annual showcase season. If only there was an acronym for it.
You're listening to Z Games at 4ZZZ.
You're listening to Z Games on 4ZZZ.
Oi mate, you're listening to Z Games at 4ZZZ.
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 Got a bit carried away.
Sucker for Love, Date to Die For, developed by Akabaka, published by DreadXP, and available on PC. Eldritch gods, cosmic horrors, things beyond our understanding. To merely gaze upon their form is to abandon all hope. They are sequestered to the stars, appearing only through challenging, failure-prone rituals and unutterable incantations. Their twisted, fanatical followers require no such invitation to commit horrors beyond belief in their stead. It is then when the bogeyman lurking in the shadows isn't an obscure, imperceptible shade, but a tangible madman. Before the vague prognostications of the stars, become empty threats before the undeniably material, the simple hatchet in their hands. You find yourself waking up in a bookstore to the owner. It appears that while browsing you somehow dozed off, and it takes you a few moments to remember why you're there. You've returned to your hometown, Sacramento, in order to investigate a spree of disappearances that have been occurring recently, after receiving a letter from your parents urging you to visit. Only problem though, your parents have been missing for a year. This is obviously a lure, but the only way to find out what's going on is to take the bite. Sucker for Love, Date to Die For is a visual novel game that parodies horror movies and dating sims, packed with the usual tropes as well as some fun reversals. A flirtatious, immortal goat lady who is tired of her cult doing cult stuff, and the leader of the cult, who is immortal and wants to keep doing cult stuff. You see, Roxanne, the goat lady, is the goddess of lust, and she has been summoned and trapped on Earth for far too long. Her cult, the Thousand, have been kidnapping people to sacrifice to the Black Forest in the hopes that it'll take over the world. And she's over it. Killing people isn't really her thing. Luckily, you've been lured to the Black Forest and to Roxanne. You want to stop the disappearances, she wants to leave, so you team up. By completing a series of rituals, you'll then be in a position to burn down the forest, freeing Roxanne and also destroying the cult. But of course, the cult, and the leader of the cult, Bucky, don't want you to destroy the cult, or burn down the forest, or let Roxanne go. In fact, they want you to die. So as you try to complete the rituals, finding materials around your degraded childhood home that you need, you'll need to be careful. The game is made up of 360-degree hand-drawn environments that you can look around in as you move from room to room. To get to the next room, you need to click on the door, and then, quite deliberately, open the door. If you slide it open slowly and spot the danger in time, you can avoid the danger quite easily. But sometimes, you're being chased by a horrifying baby monster that wants to turn you into a smoothie, and you need to open those doors quick. So, be careful. You have a number of chapters to work your way through, and each chapter plays out sort of like an episodic show, and you'll see that play out with an intro to the episode, and even a sting to the next episode. You'll also find that each chapter is basically the same. You team up with Roxanne, you complete rituals, and you beat the cult. But the thing about Outer Gods is that reality is their dream, and of course, eventually Roxanne has to sleep. Her dream is being sabotaged by her aunt, a 12-foot tall cat lady from space wearing heels, ensuring that this nightmare repeats. Each chapter has a bad end, where you die pathetically, a good end, where you technically win, and a true end. That will require a bit of trust and optimism. You will need the true endings in order to actually finish the game, but the checkpoint system makes it pretty easy to go back to a specific point in the game and speed forward through dialogue. Regarding the sound design, there is some directional sound, so you can hear the danger moving throughout the house getting closer and closer. This game is also fully subtitled. When you recite spells and rituals, you drag the mouse across the phrase steadily, and you're rewarded with unearthly chanting. And when you have to chant the same phrase multiple times, knowing that you have to say it right, if you rush it, you'll mess it up. And you can hear the danger at the door. You can hear it knocking it open. You can hear its steps approaching you. Well, just get the chanting right the first 3 times and you're fine. Sucker for Love, Date to Die For is a very fun, unserious, but still pretty scary at times game that does a lot of things that make it so much more enjoyable. For example, you can opt in for a jump scare warning, so a friendly little message pops up with a friendly little doo-doo-doo, and you can click continue when you're ready to proceed to the scare. Did this jump scare warning jump scare me the first couple times? Yes, but I attribute that to this game managing to sink into the atmosphere pretty quickly. You're also given a spray bottle that you can use to interrupt characters who are being too weird. Handy for curbing Roxanne when she tries to convince the main character to have kids. Not necessarily with her, just in general, because you see, the more kids you have, the more powerful you become. But sometimes you don't need to hear about how kids will increase your strength tenfold, you know? So spritz away. The game is fully voiced except for the main character, and the voice acting is a lot of fun. I often find myself silencing visual novel games because I read quicker than what is actually being said, and the voice acting doesn't really add much to the game for me. But in this case, a lot of the lines being delivered in a certain way adds a ton of wit and sass to this game. Gods can be incredibly human sometimes, you know? That being said, It's still a bit scary, and although things seem fun and the main character is slaying in the cutest pastel goth outfit, it really is just a facade, and every now and again, a bit of reality breaks through the illusion, and you get a glimpse of the injuries you can't feel, the reason that your arm can't move, the changes that are slowly happening to you for better or for worse. It's not a horror game that will give you nightmares, but it did have me intrigued, and then hooked. It freaked me out a little, it made me laugh, and it had me on the edge of my seat, leaning to my left as if that would help me peek around a two-dimensional door on the screen.
Thank you for that insightful review, Zahra.
I mean, Zahra tried to look around a two-dimensional door, so I don't know if we can trust them.
Why not?
Because you can't look around a two-dimensional object on a screen.
But what if suddenly the rules changed and you could, and only Zahra knew because only Zahra was doing it?
You can if you use remote strapped to your head, so you can do some really good projection, 3D projection. You know, that was an actual thing that we used to do with hacking with the Wii. And they tried to put it into boom blocks, I think, and Nintendo said, no, you're not allowed to. No one's allowed to. Oh, you're not allowed to strap a remote to the player's head. It will confuse them.
And now we're strapping whole entire systems.
Oh, no. You had to strap the sensor, the IR thing. Strap that to your head and the remote at the TV. And they said, it'll confuse everyone.
Yeah, that's way confusing, just putting those bits on your head.
Well, it's just two IR emitters. You can use candles.
Yep.
Anyway, hello, Maylee.
Hi, listeners. No, I agree. It sounds very confusing.
I mean, good on Zahra for trying to peek into that third dimension.
Yeah, break through the paradigm of reality into
whatever helps you
absolute
cope.
Madness.
This is Z Games.
That it is.
From 4ZZZ.
That it is.
I am Maylee.
Yep.
From my mother, I suppose.
I guess.
You assume too much.
I don't know.
I was going to say you weren't there, but I mean, you were. Anyway, I am Paul, also from Maylee's mother.
Okay.
And Peter is
I'm just Peter. Yep.
Peter.
From the test tube.
Oh, from test tube. Okay.
Yeah, they left me in a little too long. Hence the
squish nose.
Long, lanky.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are we going to chat about now, Maylee?
Games.
The annual showcase spectacular.
Yes.
Change it up. Anyway.
The Summer Games.
We'll skip out all the others. It's been a wild time. I would say for people that are not me, and that is most of you, I would probably
I am
assume.
not you.
Yeah.
Well, considering I'm Maylee, yes, I'm not Paul.
This year, as Jeff Keighley said before it started, was lower your expectations. And
they were lowered.
That is both a good thing to say for the mainstream and also a terrible thing to say. Because as I say, 20 plus showcases I've watched through. For instance, the Latin America showcase had 60 goddamn games in it.
Yeah.
And they're all interesting to some degree or another. So, some of them are sort of like just have released, but most of them are still coming out. If you are generally just interested in what's going on with games and what's coming out on the wide range, it was an amazing weekend. And it's still going a little bit. We've still, especially, probably the biggest one, we still don't have the Nintendo Direct, which is supposed to be end of the month. We don't have a date. But if you are just interested in your big bangers, kind of outside of the Xbox showcase, there wasn't a lot going on.
Not at all.
But I was still just enraptured for nights on end, up at 3 a.m, wondering where all my friends were. I made Peter get up one night and didn't check my phone, so he was all alone.
Hey, I enjoyed, watching along. It was a good showcase. There was a lot of, it'll be on Game Pass now, as soon as it launches.
All the Xbox stuff is... That was the thing. They Xbox really doubled down on, no, we are going to see... This was their time to jump off if they were going to jump off.
Yeah. If they were going to get rid of the Xbox console as a console, this was it.
Oh, I still think it's gone.
Yeah.
I reckon the Xbox console is gone. We will always have Xbox hardware, but the strong rumors are that it becomes, hilariously enough, who remembers Steam machines?
Yep.
Oh, well, I
remember
one
those.
hand raised up, which was like a spec that Valve came up for third parties to make.
Yeah.
And it didn't work, and it's kind of maybe happening again now that the Steam Deck's popular, but Xbox more making a standard and then third parties making the hardware. because Microsoft is less interested in hardware these days. They want to be platform. Which, I mean, has always been...
Much more profitable to just make a thing and, sell lots of it than make one thing and everybody have to buy it.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows? The world is an open book of possibilities there. But yeah, there were lots of things to be excited about. There are a few Aussie games that came up.
Mm-hmm.
First up, our local game made by, I'll have to just say friends of the show, Witchbeam. So this is their new game, Tempopo, which was sort of being made in conjunction while Unpacking was being made. So the original team that made Assault Android Cactus sort of split, and they took on like different projects, but they're helping each other out and that sort of thing.
I played Tempopo several months ago at the Powerhouse, but I'm sure it's developed a lot, but it was good fun.
Oh yeah, it's very like Choo Choo Rocket inspired and everything. They're both Nat and Tim that sort of started that studio together. They're ex-Sega kids and they're all about it. Oh yeah, and we just got their full-blown announcement with their new song and everything. It's very cool. We got to see Beethoven and Dinosaurs' new game, and they did the Artful Escape, which their new game is just about 90s teens feeling stuff and listening to the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yes.
Other bands too, but I just saw Smashing Pumpkins and I went, look, it's me.
Were you a 90s teen that felt things?
Yeah, I felt so many things in the 90s, Maylee. You have no idea.
I don't.
Yeah.
I was a baby.
Look, I had Smashing Pumpkins and Radiohead, and I've never really changed. And again, a beautiful art style. It's doing, as is coming a bit more popular.
It looked fun. It looked like a good experience, but just a good bit of fun as well.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it will be as a game, because Artful Escape was very much in that sort of walking simulator vein. And I know from talking to the development team, they had higher aspirations to it, but as development goes on, it functions down.
Yep.
So that
jogging simulator.
Yeah. Get a bit more jog in it.
Fitness tracking, next generation.
So Mixtape looks to be like some sort of skate, like lots of movement based things. There's skating and there's flying and there's making out. So maybe some of that.
All those coming of age sort of emotional trials and tribulation aspects.
Yeah. Let's get the mini game of just like trying to feel under a sweater. That's I was just thinking, what else was Australia? There were a few other Mars First Logistics, that's already out, but it was part of Outer Sloth. I feel like I'm missing another big one, but oh well. But my big game that I was super, super excited about, and I experienced it the best way possible, because I missed the opening title of the trailer. So the trailer starts, and it's, oh, hi, I used to be a warrior, but now I run a potion shop, and everything's very cozy, and I'm like, oh my god, I cannot tune out fast enough. I am so sick of running a small business with, like, farming simulatory, just, like, cutesy, cozy games. This is just such an overdone genre at the moment. And then as the trailer continued, it starts getting darker. And the voice acting's really good. And the main character, she is obviously sort of suffering from some sort of like post-traumatic stress or similar. And in the way that cozy games and these games are actually presented and used by people, using this position in their life to comfort them and help them work through those issues. So even without delving any further into the idea, it's kind of a meta commentary on the genre itself. In that this is what we use it for. It's not getting too far up its own behind saying that. Just like, look, what if we put someone in this position that may actually need it for psychological reasons? And then it ends, and it says it's by Ivy Road, which is Davey Rendon's new studio, which we all know, well, which many of us know from The Stanley Parable and The Beginner's Guide, which are the two games he's made, which are two of the greatest games ever made. The Beginner's Guide especially is an extremely well thought out and emotional story given in a very meta way. I don't really think this game's necessarily going to be so wild and wacky and full of twists. I think it might just play through this idea, because it's Davey Rendon, Carla Zamonja, sorry, I didn't really know her last name. She was the producer of Gone Home and Tamoka? What? Oh God, Tacoma! I was like, I got all the letters in the wrong order in my brain. And Daniel Rosenfeld, who's the guy behind the music of Minecraft.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yes, so it's kind of a superstar team taking on a genre which is not what you would expect from them, and that is super exciting for me. So that's called Wonder Stop. I don't know when it's coming out, but I am hyped as you can possibly be for it, because I don't know. Maybe I hate it, but it'll be interesting.
It'll be fun to hate.
It'll be interesting no matter what it is. What about yours? Was there anything that jumped out at you with any of this stuff? Did you watch Wholesome? Wholesome was pretty fun this year. And you know why?
Why?
Only 10% farming games.
I know. Very little amount of farming in this.
That's a huge improvement.
Yeah, last year was like, I am too much.
Like, there's nothing wrong with a good farming game,
No!
but there is starting to be few too many.
Yes, yeah. There are a lot of people that loved Stardew, which are now like, I need to make that. I'm like,
but with
we
this
already
bit,
got it.
Or with this bit
Except
changed.
you're a bear, or you're a duck, or you're a reanimated turd. Any of these things. Was it ever animated? It can't be reanimated, can it?
Stardew is a very good game. Just if someone makes a very good game, you don't need to make that again.
Oh, yeah. But you're inspired, you got a twist. But it's hard to get a twist that's good enough to really differentiate.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I found different this year, and is a sort of a good thing to mention to listeners, is that a lot of the showcases, when trailers came up, they had a little icon in the corner saying demo available. Because they tied in a lot of the showcases on Steam.
Yes.
Providing a lot of demos. There are also a bunch of demos that are available on console, but just much less than on Steam. But also, Steam Neckfest kicked off halfway through the whole process.
Yes. That it did.
So on Steam at the moment, there are hundreds and hundreds of demos for you to check out. It's overwhelming. It's too much. They really need to pace it out. I can't deal with it.
Well, that's the whole point of what they were originally doing with E3, just giving you that one specific week of everybody just doing their thing. But because they're extending it out over multiple nights and each one's got their own little thing now, it's just like, I'm going to have like a week and a half's worth of sleepless nights, not like 3 or 4.
It was interesting because one of the things with E3 was everyone focused on the big presentations.
Yep.
But there was Kensal Hall. I've never went to E3, so I'm bad with names. But there was a hall that just had all of the weird stuff.
Yep.
And the journalists would go in there, and sort of each outlet would have like 1 or 2 stories from there. And having all these demos available kind of has created a landscape that allows the same thing. If you find something weird, you can go. There was a word game, Lock, L-O-K. I was watching the trailer for it and said, I don't understand what this mechanic is. It said demo available. Because it's a word game, it downloaded in about 3 seconds on my Steam Deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was playing it by the end of the trailer, and it was like a cute idea, but I didn't think it had a lot of legs to it, so I sort of got rid of it. But I got to experience that immediately, and it made a big difference.
I think we might want to take a break and come back after a bit of music.
Yeah, a little
some
bit of
more.
music would...
When Paul just needs to like pour some water on his head for a little while.
Before we came back in our last break, Paul's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go get some water," and he didn't. And now we've been speaking for 8 minutes, and I'm worried. I'm worried about him. So I'm going to get
some dehydration. Yep.
See, you'd miss us if we weren't here. Keep us on the air. Make a tax-deductible donation this end of financial year. Head to support.4ZZZ.org.au.
Hello. That worked. That was 3.
Oh. Say hey.
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 I am Maylee. This is Z Games, and we are 4ZZZ.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
And you're Maylee, and you're Maylee.
I'm Maylee.
Yeah, we're 2 Maylees. We're 3 Maylees, bound together by God. And,
okay, we're back for some more
chatting
about the Summer Games Fest. Paul wanted to talk about some games that he's
Sorry
the
for
demos of.
my inability to stop talking, everyone. So as I mentioned before the break, lots of demos coming out. Because it's Steam Next Fest, but that's all the stuff tied in. And there were 2 that really jumped out to me. There was one game showed off in I can't remember what show, PC Gaming Show or something potentially, Pinball Spire. Now it's a pinball adventure game, so I'm thinking along the lines of like Yoku's Island Express or Sonic Spinball or something like that. It didn't graphically it didn't look bad, but nothing that's going to capture your eye too much. Like, okay, it's there. Let's have a look. It instantly hit me with a few brilliant moves. One, it's far more of a pinball game than those other games I mentioned. You're just on a table the whole time. The first thing it teaches you is you can pause the game and you can mouse over or stick over, as I was playing it on the deck, to just tell you what anything on the table does. So one of the big things with pinball is learning tables, but this is this is a Metroidvania. This is like a big world where you're going from table to table.
Yeah.
So instead of you just having to like hope you flick in the right area and work out what it is, you can sort of just go to a table and learn what it is. The first ability you unlock is a slowdown, which, makes sense in pinball. So, okay, I can be a bit more accurate.
Yep.
Also, if you're a slowdown whilst the ball is on a paddle, it'll show you a shot of angle. Which suddenly means you can make like sniper shots in a pinball game really, really easily. The next ability in the demo, and sorry if I'm blowing through the demo for people, is your fireball ability. And they say with this, you can blast through enemies instead of bouncing off them.
Okay.
Okay. But also, it's a fireball. So the next table has no lights. So you have to turn on fire to see what's around you. It feels great. It's got, like, even just those 3 core starting ideas at the beginning of the game. I'm like, this feels really good. It's fresh enough that I haven't seen these mechanics play out, and it plays really well. And if you're interested, there's a demo available. So,
what was that one called again?
That's called Pinball Spire.
Pinball Spire.
Cannot play pinball. Never been good at it, and I'm intrigued.
Well,
Hooked
exactly.
by this concept.
With things like, because often if you fall off a table, instead of like losing your life, you just go back to the table that's below you.
Yeah.
But also, as I say, the slowdown and being able to do an exact shot if you aren't accurate.
It telling me what all the things does.
Oh yeah, it's
great.
It's quite like lots of smart ideas, and that's what. The other game that I had been playing, which I've lost here.
Oh no.
I keep calling it Techno Babble, but it's actually called something else. Techno Banter.
Oh yeah.
Techno Banter. Oh my lord, it is a first-person sort of adventure game, you put it. And it's very surreal. Most of the characters sort of 2D billboarded art. And you walk out of your apartment at the beginning and someone's trying to kick down a door. And I took the attitude of like, oh, let me help you, friend, and tried to help them kick it down. But I wasn't strong enough, so I just punched them instead. I quickly found out I'm a bouncer at a local club. I walked along the street talking to people, lots of interesting characters. It's always hard at the beginning of a narrative adventure game, making characters that you actually want to talk to. I'm like, God, just let me get to the stuff and I'll find out if I care later. But I found a bunch of people interesting immediately. But once you go to the club, you start a bouncing mini game, which is everyone coming up. You've got a list of attributes you don't want to be left in the club, and your ability is that you can kind of like suss people out. So this guy's a bit aggressive. He's a we're not going to let this guy in. Oh, this guy is a creep. No creeps in. And it goes forward like that. And then if you try to reject them, it goes into a evolution of Monkey Island style insult fighting.
Yes.
And then depending on their reaction, it might take an Undertale style little action sequence to like avoid their insults back or something like that. Lots of little ideas going in there, funny. And even in the tutorial of them teaching you how to deal with people trying to go into the club, they start laying in the story and like mysterious characters that you're going to be in with later. And I played as a real jerk, which is maybe it's the time of my life, but I've been doing that a lot more in games recently. And it was consistently funny and imaginative. And just a world that I do not understand at all, but is obvious enough to navigate.
I just was having a little read about it, and it says it's inspired from the Berlin techno rave scene.
Oh, I can see that.
So
Yeah, definitely.
Also not a world I know anything about, but sounds good.
Can't say I do either. It looks interesting enough, though.
Yeah, it's it was a real pleasure to play through that demo. So Techno Banter, not Techno Babble.
Yes.
Which is a funny name on its own. But yeah, I sure did punch that guy trying to break into potentially his own apartment. I still didn't know. I just couldn't break down the ball. So I'm like, well, I got to punch something.
Just had to do it, didn't you, Paul?
Oh yes. But yeah, it's been an exciting time.
Unfortunately, it's getting towards the end of the night. I mean,
that it is.
If we wanted to talk about everything that showed up, every game that was mentioned, we'd be here for days.
Oh, there's literally
24/7 Z games.
Yeah.
So we can't do it, but like we've said, like Paul said, there is lots of demos out there. Not for everything, but for a lot of them. So definitely go check it out.
There is a lot on here.
Get your free gaming hours in. It's good. Good free games.
Especially while they're free. Free gaming.
I was trying to get free gaming hours into Get Your Freak On, but it's a lot more syllables.
Yeah.
I'm
It
sorry.
is.
I'm sorry for that.
Get your free on.
It's okay. It's the thought that counts. All right.
Yes.
I suppose we won't be back. Maylee won't be back, but someone else will be back, and Maylee will return one day. One of us.
Somehow Maylee returned.
Somehow Maylee returned.
Hope everyone is having a good week.
Yep.
Enjoy your games.
That they are.
And my mouse isn't working.
Oh.
It's a hard.
I did use that mouse earlier. It's a terrible mouse.
There we go. I've got it sorted.
I don't know the song. What's it called? Busy Earning.
Busy Earning.
We're busy earning, so good night, our friends. The friends of Z Games on the airwaves.
Not close.
No, I'm going to say probably not even close.
Thanks for listening to Z Games. If you'd like to listen to more, you can find us on the Community Radio Plus app
or find us on socials at ZED Games AU.
See you next time.
What was that? What was that at the top, Maylee?
That was Floppy D. Yes,
None of that in here! Oh, hey!
From the game Bears in Space.
It's a good game.